Jo.
Hey.
Oh my god, I missed to sing this song.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Alright, so hey everybody. Today I'm going to be reacting to Sagopa.
Kajmer.
Okay, Sagopa Kajmer and his song Baytar. Let me just tell you before we get started that this was probably the hardest song to analyze because Sagopa's style is very poetic. It took a lot of translating with my trusty translator. I hope you guys learn a little bit about what this song is about.
Before we move on, I just want to say that in the Ceza video, I mentioned about how much I like Sagopa and I prefer him to Ceza. I actually listened him the last time was like 10 years ago and recently for this video. That's why I don't know what happened after with him, how his thing has changed, but I know the guy that I heard his songs and touched my heart. One of the songs is like Baytar.
Bu dilden firar eden her söz yaydan çıkmış ok gibi. Sözler bazen bir hazine, bazen dermansız bir dert tipi. Geçmiş dünden bahsetmek lezzetsiz. Gelmemiş yarından hep mi şikayetçiyiz biz? Aklımın ipinin ucu da kaçmış. Timsah katreleri boşalsın. Bir iki damla hiç değersiz. Üzüm ve kaderin pençesinde bir dev, namı dersiz. Gece gündüz ömrüden yontar, dünya dönmez yaremsiz.
Alright, so in this first stanza, Sagopa basically says words are like a stone shot from a slingshot or an arrow shot from a bow. You can't take them back once you've said them. And words can be the biggest problem solvers in the world, or they can cause the biggest problems in the world. Also, it says, don't dwell on the past because it's useless and you're not going to change the past. And in the second stanza, he basically says, I've lost my mind, I've let my monsters out, which his monsters, his bad side, his anger maybe, and crying has now lost its meaning. He says crocodile tears. For those of you who don't know, when crocodiles eat, they cry. Crocodiles just cry. It's a phenomenon. But a lot of people don't think that crocodiles cry because of sadness. So crocodile tears is basically saying tears have lost their meaning once I've let the monsters out. And then he goes on to say, even with the strength of a giant, you couldn't fight against the problems you created with your words earlier. When the world comes crashing down on you, you need a friend who loves you. No matter how many monsters you let out, there's that person in your life that you need that will always love you.
Serbest kalsın fikrim. Senin tozlarını silemez tenimden ellerim. Varlık ruhu terk eder gözün gözümden ayrılınca. Bendeki aşk altın misali ağırlanınca. Sensiz benlik yokluk demek, kalbim sana emekçi. Aşk denen illet çorak arazide. Tilki misal kurnaz bekçi. Başım sarkık bir mahalsiz cümle yolumun önüne taş. Dudaklarını kadehin hikayeden çakır keyif derttaş. Şölen der ki sel ağzına bina yapmak aptal işi. Yel eserse kırmaz dişimi. Kalp bir körse görmez bir şey.
Alright, so then he goes on to say, he wants to let his thoughts free, like he did the monsters earlier. And he says, I can't wipe the stain off, or I can't wipe the dust off. So basically, he can't get over the mistakes he did in the past. And that makes him vulnerable. Then he says, existence refuses the soul. And now he says, you're ignoring me, and I feel soulless. And then he goes on to say something really poetic, that love is a disease or like a cunning fox looking for, apparently the weak is what my translator and I discussed. So love is looking for the weak, which I don't agree with, but it's very poetic, and I think it takes a strong person to love someone. And then he says, love is like gold, it's heavy. I should have loved you more. And the more he thinks about this person, this probably a love of his life, the more he thinks about her, the more it weighs on him like gold, and he can't get over this love. And words in the past that you said become like stones that might trip you up in the future. So even what you said in the past can harm you in the future and come back to bite you. This song is so hard. Onlookers say it's silly to build anything in the mouth of a stream or where there's storms. If the wind will blow, it won't break my teeth. If the heart is blind, it doesn't see. So basically he's saying, when love blinds you and other people are warning you about being careful with your love, like don't love them, you'll get hurt. When you become in love, your blind heart basically ignores all of these people telling you to watch out.
Saniyeler dakikalarla yapar alışverişi. Saatler seni alır benden korkarım olamaz gelişi. Hasret gözümün ışıklarını söndüren alçak misafir. Afitap sönük bir mum ayrılık hain bir zehir. Melek yanında yüzünü saklar felek yüzüme kaş çatar. Bir tek bu hüznü sen boğarsın ipek tenin derime batsın. Rüzgar saçını süpürse mest olur bakışlarım. Adınla uyanır kulaklarım yüzünle açar göz kapaklarım. En güzel şiirlerimde kaleme adını sayıklatırım. Odamın hayaletisin sessizliğine aşığım. Derdime çare.
Alright, so seconds are trading with minutes, hours take you away, and I'm afraid you won't come back. He goes on to say, there's no me without you. My heart is only working for you, which is pretty self-explanatory. All of the translations said that what he says next is, anguish is a foul guest. But Sagopa is talking about longing. So the feeling of longing for someone, it's much more just missing somebody. And it's putting out the light in your eyes, basically making you like sad, I guess. When you're longing for somebody, you just look like a sad mess. And I can definitely agree with that.
They take all the lights on your eyes when they left.
And then sunlight is a dyed candle, or sunlight's a candle that went out. But what they're actually talking about is the memory of you is growing dim, and breaking up, being separate, is like a poison killing you. He goes on to say, angels are hiding their faces from you. Your destiny or your fate is showing its angry face to you. It's frowning on you. It's scolding you. Only you can fix this feeling of despair, I guess. Let your silky body touch my skin is what the online translation says, but they use a word that basically means like let your skin sting me or melt into my skin. So it's like a very powerful way. Like he would even prefer that her skin is harming him than to be away from her. Sagopa goes on to say, he loses himself when he sees the wind blowing in her hair. At the sound of your name, I wake up. That's the first thing he sees or thinks about.
Even if she's far away, she's always with him.
Yeah.
Haunting him as a ghost.
I'm starting to fall in love with this ghost, or I'm starting to fall in love with the silence of this ghost.
Yeah.
So that was a poetic way to say, I'm thinking about you all the time, even if you're not here. And I don't even have to have you here. I still love the thought of you.
Yok dengeme destek tut ki durayım şafak güneşin fermanı geçer acı tatlı sayılı zamanın sancısı ama melek bir yandan şeytan bir yandan başım zindan yokluk var bu kaçıncı şikayetim bilmem derdime çare baytarım yok dengeme destek tut ki durayım şafak güneşin fermanı geçer acı tatlı sayılı zamanın sancısı ama
So Sagopa then goes into his chorus. Time is passing by painfully. The dawn, bittersweet, painful. And then on one hand, melek bir yandan, şeytan bir yandan. You have an angel on one hand and shaitan or the devil on the other hand. My head is a dungeon. I can't even count the times that I've complained about this exact thing. So basically he's saying, this is not the first time this has happened.
Kafamı duvara yasladım omuzların yanımda yok ahbaplar maymun iştah sahibi benim içim senle tok yok ki gücüm belki devler ülkesinde bücürüm sessizliğinle gelir hüznüm yokluğunda gömülü ölüyor bu devranın binlerce sevgi müşterisinden biriyim yalnızlığıma küfrederim sensiz halden müştekiyim ilelebette dönmez olsam bil ki yalnız nöbetteyim hatalarıma savaş açtım her gün farklı kefendeyim hayat günlük defter yaprağı hazan gelir dökülür gelirken ne getirilir ki giderken ne götürülür dertle anlaş deva bul üzüntü kalbi sömürür yüzüne baktım her an cennetten bahçe görülür gülüş neşem değil gönül bucaklarımda harabeler bu hilekar tavırla geçer fena saatler seni içeren masallarım anlatılacak kadar kısa değiller aşk ilinde bir tarafta cüceler diğer yanda devler.
I'm resting my head on the wall because your shoulder's not here. He's got friends with ravenous appetites, but I'm full because of you. He's full of this love. And earlier he was saying he's like a giant trying to fight all these problems, but now he says I'm powerless, like a dwarf in the land of giants. I don't know if when you have problems you're a giant and you have a lot of strength, and when you're in love you're like a dwarf, but And then he says, when you're gone, that's when my sorrow comes. I'll be buried in your absence. Basically, you being away is killing me. I'm cursing my loneliness. Without you, I'm in purgatory. Like, so I'm suspended. Like, I don't know what to do without you. And if you never come back, I'll still be standing there like a lonely guard waiting for you. He's started a war with his mistakes, and every day he dies. He's trying to fix his mistakes. Fall has come. The leaves are like pages. They're going to fall off the tree. Time is passing by. Time is making it easier for him to live with it. Even though it's become easier, it's still destroying him. Because then he says, every moment I look in your face, I see heaven's gardens. He's smiling, but he's not really happy. His heart is in ruins. And even fairy tales aren't long enough or aren't good enough to really describe this perfect girl that he's talking about.
You know, you've been in love. When you're in love, you also feel like, even if you smile, you feel you're not smiling enough. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then he goes on to say, in the land of love, there's giants and dwarves.
Derdime çare, baytarım yok. Dengeme destek, tut ki durayım. Şafak güneşin fermanı geçer acı tatlı sayılı zamanın sancısı ama melek bir yandan, şeytan bir yandan. Başım zindan yokluk var, bu kaçıncı şikayetim bilmem derdime çare. Baytarım yok, dengeme destek, tut ki durayım. Şafak güneşin fermanı geçer acı tatlı sayılı
We've been debating on what these snails mean in this original film clip. I think everybody's running away from their problems. Or these snails actually might represent love because it's destroying everything. People are running away from it. Well, that's not the way I feel about love. I can see that that could be a metaphor in this for love. Definitely, love can be destructive, as probably everybody watching this may know.
I still love you.
It can also be the greatest thing ever. We were discussing what these snails meant in this clip. So I would be very curious to what you guys think about this film clip and about the lyrics too, because I think the lyrics and the film clip are equally interesting and equally hard to decipher.
zamanın sancısı ama melek bir yandan, şeytan bir yandan. Başım zindan yokluk var, bu kaçıncı şikayetim bilmem. Melankoli 2.06 kuzen. Sagopa Kev. Melankolia. Sagopa Kajmer Mahles Kev.
All right. So basically it's a love story. And I think there's like multi-level metaphors in this that I'm probably not even understanding too. The way I interpreted it was in the first couple stanzas, he's talking about how words can be good or bad, and he did some shit bad. In the next stanza, it's talking about how he's regretful of his actions. He's a giant trying to fight his problems. He's regretting what he said, and he feels like he cannot fix the problems that came from what he said. Then he goes on to say he survived the problems, but the problems are eating him from the inside out, and he can't stop thinking about it. He can't stop complaining about him.
Why he's vulnerable, he feels like he's in a desert and love, which is described like fox, on hunts.
Yeah, the fox is hunting. So the world turns you from a giant into a dwarf, and then love can find you.
This.
So in a way, this giant trying to fight back against all these problems.
Is a dolphin or cannot?
Yeah,
Can I?
and then you basically break down into a dwarf, and then that's when the fox of love can eat you.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. And when it eats you, you fall madly in love to where if you're separated from them, you can't stop thinking about them. That's all you think about.
And you even turning an animal, like describing the main verse, saying that you need a vet, not a doctor.
Oh,
Making more
wow.
sense now?
Yeah, I didn't get that part. That's really deep.
Yeah.
No, I didn't figure that out. No. Hiç fikrim yok.
But when he fall in love, I think he described love in the best way that anyone can. All of his words are like emotional, deep, and like lots of layers on top of each other.
In one part of the movie clip, there was the old guy carrying the skull with the backpack that was bonking him on the head and kicking his ass. So I that is someone died that he loved, and it's making him cry. His tears are watering his field, but it's making him cry, and he can't go on unless he has this backpack on, making him work. Oh, another part was the part where it said, when you turn your eyes away from me, it hurt. And old lady puts her, I don't know what that fan is called, but she puts her fan up over her eyes and it pans over and there's a whole bunch of guys' heads in a cage. There was enough of them to build a house out of these guys' heads. So it was making me think that this old lady broke those guys' hearts. To compare this with Ceza, oh my gosh. Okay, so Ceza, I would say, has speed. He's one of the fastest rappers I've ever heard rap, and it's very impressive. Sagopa, on the other hand, is just as impressive when it comes to the metaphoric way that he writes his songs. Ceza is more just straightforward. Like, I'm the best. I'm the fastest. I'm the blah, blah, blah. Where Sagopa is like using words that make you think. And he's not talking as fast, but it's just more poetic. Ceza can sing clearly in a fast-paced way that's very impressive, and Sagopa has a more poetic mind. Another thing I noticed with Sagopa is that he has two different styles of rapping. In some of his song, he's rapping, and in other parts of the song, he's singing. And his voice is actually very lovely. He transitions between singing and rapping very smoothly, and I think it's a skill that a lot of rappers don't have. So it's pretty unique. Yeah, so I'm really interested, especially in this video. I want to hear what you guys think about the animated clip. This was so poetic, it could be interpreted 100 different ways. And I'm very interested to hear what you guys say. So, if you guys liked and enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit like. Hit the bell if you want to hear when my new content comes out. I'll be making a lot of new content now that I'm back in Turkey. Bye.